Hello, everyone. It's Chuck Hogan with Your Best Life, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on both respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure that you rate and leave a comment. The app is completely free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I promise you we're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be another adventure here at Your Best Life. I have a treat for you all. And not only is she a fellow country person, I need to make sure I enunciate that. I won't say countryman. That would have been bad. And Yayoi is one of the other hosts of a show, Brain to Belly, on the Spanglish radio network and TV network. And so what's beautiful is at times we get to invite each other on, and it's amazing for me because all of these folks have so many distinctions, insights, and abilities to be able to stand and deliver amazing information. So Yo-Yo, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's such a pleasure to see you again, my friend.
Thank you so much, Chuck. I really, really was looking forward to doing this and spending time with you today.
Oh, it's
So
a
thank
pleasure.
you.
I know we had a delay. As they say, things happen, and only in the world of TV. And so here's what's great, everyone, is that Yayo and I were discussing, like, how do we actually create and also dismantle our dreams? Because, you know, it's this really strange concept that where do these things manifest from? Because it's like, do they just pop in your head or to your being? And then there's another aspect to this too, which is how does that affect your brain and all the way to your belly? Because we're not just one part of ourselves. It's like, oh, I like my right eye, but not my left eye. My right pinky toe is gorgeous. My left one, not so much.
Not so.
And so I go there because there's this tendency for all of us to judge ourselves. And it's interesting because you know that there's parts of you that you like. And there's other parts of you that you may not enjoy or honor as much.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
I'm trying to be very PC. And so part of this is this, what does it take to actually create or dismantle a dream? Can you help me understand a little bit better?
Yes. Well, because everything that we think about, you know, our brain hears it, right? And our brain doesn't realize if something is true or false. It doesn't understand the word no and not.
Right.
So if you keep on saying, let's say, for example, I'm no good, right? Let's say,
actually, that's a great example.
That's actually
primordial fears, right? Is that like, am I not good enough? Because if I'm not good enough, then I'm not worthy. And if I'm not worthy, then why am I even here? It's like, whoa. You went down that rabbit hole real quick.
Oh, yeah, very quickly. And I think a lot of us fall into that quite easily because society, it doesn't mean to, I don't think society's purpose is to make people doubt themselves or hate themselves. But, you know, there are people that want you out of the way because they just think about themselves. They want to move forward and you're in the way. You know, other people, the less competition, the better for them, right? The better percentage that they'll win, whatever they're winning at or whatever they want to win at.
Right. And isn't it interesting, the stories that we tell ourselves or the expectation that we set? And, you know, at some point in time, I won't say that we've all been there. Well, yes, I will. And I'm gonna say it very bluntly. We all think we're Charlie Sheen and that we're all winning. And I'm going, okay, wait, but that looks like 2 L's to me. Like that looks like lifelong losing. And so it's like, okay, wait, what? They're like, how did you go from winning to losing? And I said, well, sometimes when you're meeting challenges at a higher level, you're actually winning because the lessons are so much more valuable than the superficial experience of having another, notch in your belt. And how does this translate, Yayoi, to people when they're going, yeah, I don't understand because I'm making all this progress, i.e., things and stuff. How does that affect the brain belly combination?
Good question. So I think because everything stacks up, right? Little things stack up.
Yes.
And, like the little things we say to ourselves every single day. If I look in the mirror and say, oh, you're so ugly every single day, and every time I look in the mirror, I'm going to start believing that. And it's going to become a truth within me because my brain believes that. And then you're going to put in the different things that go with the ugly, right?
Right.
Oh, ugly, I don't know, society stereotypes it as, oh, it's ugly, so it's not good or whatever, right? Those stereotypes go with that. And all of those start adding on. And
Right.
then it becomes a pile and it becomes bigger and bigger than what you are. And I think what happens is that...
Sí, no, ya no se cayeron.
We have a visitor.
Hi, Eduardo.
Hola, amigo.
So
this is what live TV looks like, y'all. Just so you want.
I love the y'all. Yes, y'all.
I'm a Japanese Irish guy living in Texas. I have to adapt, and so
I love Japanese Irish. Yeah, you're right.
it's like
that's a combination.
It's something. It gets better. My wife's from Nicaragua, so my kids are like, "Wait, we're what?" I said, "Americans."
You're international people.
You have a great smile and great hair.
So back, I lost my train of thought, but
the brain belly. So when you keep telling yourself over and over, and you start stacking,
yeah, you start believing that whatever it is. So if you look at it from a different perspective, if you flip the script, for example, and look at it from a different perspective, and let's say you tell yourself that, you know what, I'm actually kind of good looking, right? You could start saying that,
well,
or I have pretty eyes or whatever.
Well, and this is where pick one thing.
Yeah.
Like your nose. It might be your left nostril. You're like, this is my good side. This is and people go, okay, now you're being silly. I go, no, because it's as silly as you going, I'm not worthy, I'm not loved, I'm not good looking, I'm not smart enough. And it's like, none of it's true. No. There are things that you are so uniquely qualified that other people pale by comparison. And then there's other things that aren't your gift. And I go, that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, math isn't my thing, okay? And okay, I'm just gonna do the whole stereotype thing.
Outing yourself here. Okay.
That's okay. But because I look Asian and I am Asian, I guess. So, people assume that I'm good with math. And I'm like, that was a subject I hate. Well, not hated the most, but one of the most ones that I hated. Chemistry was the one I hated the most. But that still involves a little mathematics and stuff, right? But math was something that I was never great at. I was the cynic that asked my mother, I don't understand why 1 + 1 = 2. I don't get it. I don't get it. I troubled my mother with
for me, I was a hungry kid, and 1 + 1 meant I had 2 chopsticks and I could eat whatever I wanted. That's what that meant to me. I was like going, it's like going,
So, but so I never was that great at that, right? But and that's something that I know that I'm not. I can study and I can function, but I'm not a mathematician, and that's okay.
Well, and that's like going, and this is going to sound maybe judgmental, and I'll apologize to the universe for this, but like my Obachan was like 4'9", maybe.
Okay.
Like she was the equivalent of a Japanese hobbit. Like, I mean, and I love her. She was beautiful, but and I was like, oh, but she's probably not modeling. And it's not because she didn't look beautiful. It's just she didn't meet the standard.
Yeah.
To your point of what other people think. So what some people will say is genius isn't genius at all.
Mm-mm.
It's just a different standard. In fact, we can use this example for everyone. If I were to ask you, how was the weather in New York today? And how was it?
It was beautiful, actually. It was like in the 70s, close to 80, but 70s. And it was just a beautiful, like early summerish spring, late spring, early summerish day. Yeah.
Beautiful. And if I were to say, oh, so it was 78 to 80, and I go, but if that was in Celsius, you're like, going, we're all dead. Like, wait, what? What do you mean it was 70, 78, 80? The same weather, still beautiful, just different measurements.
Yes.
And so it does make a difference how we communicate and when we build rapport with people. One of the biggest misunderstandings is that we don't understand where someone is living now.
Yes, that is true.
And we'll base it off of history. Yeah. We'll go, oh, well, I remember you when we were 3 and you ate dirt and, you know, and you kind of smelled a little bit like you were eating. You were like natto. And so, so why do I go there? Because if we look now and go, whoa, you grew a little bit. You think from when I was 3 to now?
And I think it's what you're saying is like when we connect with people, we have to be present with them. We have to be present and we have to see them in that respect. And it's different because each time we see somebody, it's a little different, right?
Well, I hope they're growing.
I hope so too.
Because if you're not growing, you're taking what we call a dirt nap. And so that's not a great alternative. So part of this comes down to what is the expectation when we're having an engagement with someone? Like, I know when I get together with you, we're going to laugh, but we're going to share some serious concepts as well and have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me because some people, well, you know, if we were to follow the NLP theorem for, you know, neurosocial conditioning and hypnosis, we might be utilizing, and I was like, it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher at that point to me. And I was like, how much of that do I understand? And I go, not much. So I love that we're keeping this at a 5th grade level. So that way you and I, thank you for me in particular, that the universe and everyone else can pick up on this. Because ultimately, it's not about baffling people with confusion or using, you know, theoretical or hyperbole to describe something. This is real life.
And it's simple. I mean, the concepts are simple. And it's really a lot of common sense stuff that we complicate things because we feel like if something isn't complicated, or if we don't complicate it and add things to it, it's not good enough. I don't know. It's really, weird.
No, it is. And we have this tendency as humans to do what we call stacking.
Yes.
And here's the interesting thing about stacking, because we always, most of the time, we hear about this in the affirmative, like, hey, I'm stacking all these brilliant things and I'm making progress. And I go, oh, that's awesome, because progress equals happiness. And then I'm also reminded that people stack in the negative. I'm like, going, you're moving close to that dirt nap, because like you're actually digging down into the ground with negative backup. Oh, I had a bad hair day. And the bad hair day ended up being that I wasn't feeling well and I had a stomach bug. And then so I missed the party. And then I would have met the love of my life if I was at this party. It's like, wait, what? You would have?
Spiral.
Really? Like, holy smokes. It really is. And there's this tendency for people to not realize that you can stack positively, negatively, and also what we'll call torsionally, which is just across the level, which is wait, what? And they're like going, I'm not trying to judge. I said, no, none of us tries to. The default mechanism is that when we are uncomfortable, we will just start to not just measure, but to actually, well, get critical of other people. And I go, where'd the curiosity go?
I think it becomes a defense mechanism, that whole, the critical thing, because, we grew up like, I don't know, in prehistoric times. We were cavemen and all that, right? It was fight or flight, literally. Like if a dinosaur was coming towards you, I mean, you're like, you feel it first. Yeah, you got to hide and go somewhere.
You had a couple choices, right? Well, it kind of be like if you were in the savannah, in Africa, and they're like going like, so if you're in Tanzania and you go, there's a lion, there's a hyena, there's an elephant, there's a rhino, and I'm like going, okay, I've got one way out of here at this point, and my 10 million year old monkey brain's like going, danger, Will Robinson. It's like going, why? Because I'm not eating any of them, but I can be eaten by some of them. And so, isn't it amazing how you start to sort by paranoia?
Human.
Because you'll do more to avoid pain. So this happens too when we're facing judgments, even if you're in your beautiful, Manhattan apartment and you're like going,
Oh yeah. And I mean,
which
if you're
critter's gonna get me
watching
first?
TV, for instance, or even we're watching something on YouTube, anything, right? Those are outsourced sources that you feel could be attacking you, right? But on the other hand, it could also be helping
Right.
to stack positive things towards you too. Like if you're watching, let's say, you're listening to a meditation, or it's about empowerment, or lecture on empowerment and how the brain, you can use your brain to empower yourself. I don't know. I'm just going out on but you can actually do that, and that's a positive stacking.
No.
And Eric just chimed in that I choose to stack positive energy. Yeah, me too. And because the more that we stack the positive energy as a group, or even as individuals, we project that. Yes.
Well, knowing Eric, he can't help it.
Yes.
He's like a dynamo at a nuclear power plant hooked up to a solar farm. So I love you, Eric. And what's great about that too is that when you meet people who resonate at that frequency, who are that polarizing, one of the ways that you can move away from dismantling your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations is to surround yourself with like-minded, but more so like-hearted people. When you're in that same heart space, there's a level of sharing and caring that occurs that is beyond reproach. In fact, it's intoxicating. Because that resonant, it's kind of like listening to great music. If there was a guitar, you'd be like going, that's nice. If there's a guitar and drums, you're like going, ooh, there's a little rhythm. You add in piano, a violin, some woodwinds, and you're like, all of a sudden it's an orchestra. And what's playing is so melodic and beautiful, in tempo, in pitch, in timing, in collaboration. And when it gets to that point, you really do need a conductor. This is where you step in, because you get to pick the parts and pieces. You can go ahead and elevate the woodwinds, right? So you call on what you need. There's this fallacy, though, that we've all been sold. Sorry.
Yeah.
And the fallacy is this: you can do whatever you put your mind to. And I'm going to tell you, that's a great start if you're looking to create a ton of judgment in a very short period of time. The pre-frame to that, or the reframe, is very simple. You can achieve and embark and have the security, knowledge, significance, connectivity, love when you believe as you achieve. And that comes from your heart space. So whatever your heart can conceive, you will believe and then achieve. So the heart with the benefit of intellect, not the opposite way. Head down.
Yeah.
Wah,
The
wah,
heart
wah.
is at
Body
the
up.
duh, it's at the
Yes.
center of everything, but it is. And I mean, a good example would be
It is.
when you're helping, let's say you're coaching somebody, and when you're coaching from your headspace, you're like, oh, I have to say,
Mm,
or you learn something new, for example, and you want to use that new technique, let's say, for example, and you're like going into your head saying, okay, next I have to do this step or that step. When you're there, you're not really coaching because it's all coming from up here. But when you start coaching from
mm,
here, and it's really about you're picking up on the emotions the other person's feeling. You're picking up on the energies. You're picking up on the subtle movements or, the subtle changes in the voice. And all those things you sense that from your
yes.
heart, not from your head.
Mm. No, that
Mm-hmm.
energetic
Yes.
frequency, that presence that's emoting, and it is such a
Yes.
beautiful concept when you see people connecting at a very deep level. When it's not superficial, when it actually is real, when it's actually deep and connected, and not something that just is kind of like flying in the face of reason. And because have you ever been in a
Oh,
situation
yeah.
where there's words coming out of your
Yeah.
mouth but you're not feeling them? Like it's like for me it was in sorry, Mr. Long, but for me it was in high school, 4 years of Latin, and I'm reciting prayers in Latin. Well, the prayers mattered to me irrespective of the language, but I was so concentrating on the enunciation, diction, pace, and timbre of eliciting, Ave Maria, gracia plena, donos. I was like, okay, wait, what? Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I still remember. It's embedded in every cell of my body. Um, I go there for this
Right.
reason. I wasn't connected to it. And this is where
Yeah.
we get into this really kind of freaky deaky gray area. Because there are some people who can take the intellectual concept and they're such good actors that they will emote it in such a way that everyone feels connected to it. But if you ask them a technical question about it, then they're like going, let's go back. Feel the way that you're feeling. See what you hear. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel what you felt when you were in this state. And you're like going, you didn't answer my question. I need to know the technical side. And here's the deal. They're like, what? We'll get to that. And I'm like going, wow, you're good. Well, that's some ice cubes. Like this is an interesting, and I go there for this reason.
Oh, all of us.
You are a really good actor with yourself. You're like going, oh, I suck at acting.
All of us are
no,
great.
you don't. No, you don't. Is it?
Oh,
Oh, and especially if you're like performing for an audience
yeah.
of one, because you believe you.
I'm the victim, right?
Oh, it's so hard. Yeah, right. Or there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm like going, well, it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that you think you're perfect in every way, and there's no such thing as perfection. So maybe you don't have all the answers.
And
I'm
I
not
think it's
judging. I'm
awareness
just
as
saying.
well, and like if you don't know, you don't know anything. If you are
Yes.
not exposed to different thoughts, and if if you restrict yourself from even seeing different things, because there are people that, just say no, no, no to anything that's out of their comfort zone, out of their what they've been taught, and they'll just reject everything. And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine for them if that's that's the life that they want to live and they're happy that way. That's fine. It's none of my business, but usually they're not happy. No, they're not happy.
Are they really happy? I got to call you out on that one because I'm like, no, we both know because when you were saying it, you're like going,
No,
yeah,
but they
they're happy
claim that
that
they
way.
are.
And it's like going, no, they're not. And so let's go down that rabbit hole for a moment. This is really important. There's been this cultural shift in the last couple generations. And what I started noticing is that this commitment to ideals has become very lax. And there's two camps. There's the camp of meh. I'm like, what's meh? They're like, well, it's good. I'm like safe? Meh, yeah. I'm like, well, stop with the meh, because you sound like a mouse with a hernia. Like, what is it? So why is that important?
It is
Because
true.
a lot of the world is living in a space of mediocrity. And I was also reminded that there's the flip side in the bizarro universe, which is you'll have what I'll call very inspired bad actors. And these people are maniacal. Like, they are zealots over what they believe. And you're like going, oh, you're a little passionate. And they're like, oh, you think? I'm like, wow, security. Like, am I safe in here? Because this isn't feeling like a safe spot. And
they are.
Because they're serious. And when do they put in that information? And in some instances, that level of venom, like they're just throwing stuff, and they're like, oh, they're so impassioned, and there's only one way.
Yeah,
we're seeing this politically right now. We're seeing this geopolitically. We're seeing this, socioeconomically. Like, oh, you're one of those people. You're one of those 1%ers. And it's like, okay, yes, we make a lot of jobs for people. We pay a lot of taxes. We're creating culture and trying to instigate change for a better world. Yeah, well, I guess we are the 1%ers.
Everything is a matter of perspective, right? And that's where it's at, because you can see anything. Like I was talking to someone earlier today, like in art and photography. I love photography, but you can take a photograph of something like an object from this angle, right? That's one view. You could take it from below. That's another view. And that's going to give you a totally different feel. Let's say it's a vase or something, right? If you take it from above, you're going to see it from another view, because you're going to see more of the top part, right? If you're going to see it from the side, it's another view. And the thing is, all of us people, humans, have different viewpoints and different perspectives. And even a little that shift in an angle can give you a totally different feel on the same object.
Oh, yes. And even in your elevation of frequency, there's one thing, laughing, that, like losing it laughter. And, when people chuckle, it's like, okay, that was polite. When they are gone, like, I mean, absolutely just enthralled in the laughter, that's intoxicating. That's when other people are laughing at the way you laugh. It's like, they're not even laughing at the joke. They're not laughing at the situation. They're laughing with you. And they're like going, that feels so good. I want some of what they're having. And I was like, it's the chicken teriyaki. It's delicious. No, so I say this for this reason. They say birds of a feather flock together.
Wow, that's a good
How do you know which is your flock?
You have to sense it. You have to know it from your heart, back to the heart. And yes. And how do we open that up for vulnerability, Yayoi, where people can actually find that space and grace to connect to it? Because it can be a little scary sometimes. Yeah, especially in new communities or new environments. We all know this, right? And we've all experienced this, is that when you have that scary thing that you have to do, like going for that job interview or applying for a scholarship, or let's say that you think is a little out of your reach, But when you try to do things that are a little higher up,
Mhm.
or that's a little bit of a stretch, no matter what the results are, now of course you want the better result, but the result you're looking for, but no
Mhm.
matter what it is, you gain something positive from it because you're putting yourself out there. You're trying to do something that's better for yourself. Oh, and you can hear my dog. I am so sorry.
Yes. No,
Ah,
that's perfectly fine. I have
I
2
don't
and they're duct
have
taped in the other
another
room.
room to put her in.
So
I live in a studio apartment.
I love it. I love it. No, thank you. You know, it's interesting you say that because there's this saying that comes to mind, and it's something that when our children were having doubts, and I hearken back to my parents, and they used to say, I am. They'd say, repeat after me, I am. And then it's if it was brave or present or kind, and then I can, I will, and then I must. And it was like, wow, such
Yeah.
a simple way of deductive reasoning with self. Because if you go, well, I'm kind or I'm deserving, I can make progress. I will step up. I must be
Yep.
my best. And it's like, oh, wow. Oh, it's so again, stacking the affirmative. Some people do this in the opposite way. And it's like, oh, wow. I'm sorry that she has the same dress that you have at prom.
No.
But that doesn't mean you're any less of a person. It looks so
It
much
just means
better
that
on
you
you.
have great taste. That's
And
all.
so,
Yep.
listen, bookends. It's like going, I will stand in the middle. Dun, dun. So you bring up so many great and interesting points. I know there's someone out there who's struggling, and they may ask themselves, so Yayo, well, how do I look at getting started?
Wow.
Like, how do I even
Well,
attempt to start to
start
dream?
by looking into yourself. Because you have to know where you're at
Mm.
and where you want to go. Those are the 2 points that you need to figure out first. Where are you right now? And where do you want to go? Like, with any journey, right? Or any road trip, you have to put where you are, like what your app says. Where are you and where's your destination, right? When you order an Uber or Lyft or whatever. And I think it's the
Wow.
same with us. And it's where are you right now? So you have to kind of, you know, look at yourself, figure out where you are in your life or whatever goal you'd like to achieve. And then where do you want to go? And what steps do you need to take to get there?
I love that. You know, it's interesting because I was just thinking when you said that, I know some people who are planning trips and destinations and they have no idea where they're starting from. They don't. They just go, oh, well, I need $1 billion. I'm like, wait, with a B? And I'm like, yeah, come on, man. Aim high, shoot high. Anything that you hit. And I'm like going, uh-huh. Where are you at now? 55 grand a year. And your benchmark's $1 billion? Okay. They're like, well, is that not doable? And I said, well, let me put it to you a different way. If I'm standing at the bottom of the mountain and there's a plateau that's 150 a year, 300 a year, 750, $1 million, I go, $1 billion is going to be like you standing at the base of a mountain and trying to shoot an arrow over Everest. There's a few thousand feet in between that. And they're like going, oh, well, you just try to crush my dreams. Oh, you're just a buzzkill. And I'm like going, no, here's the truth. If you create something that's so intangible that your mind cannot even achieve it or believe it, then you're going to be in a place of being less than genuine oh, let's just call you're lying to yourself. You know, it's like, and when you do that,
Right.
you
And
actually discredit yourself
you're
because
kind of
you're
like
not
mocking
loving
your
yourself.
own goal by doing that, because you just say, oh, yeah. I mean, it's also about facing reality and doing a reality check with yourself, right? So where are you right now, actually? And what steps
Yes.
can you take? What's realistic? Because, let's say, for example, releasing weight. Some people say, okay, I have to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. I mean, maybe some people can, but realistically, let's look at where you are
Well,
right now.
well, you can lose it in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you won't
Won't.
like the way it looks.
Or
you
you
may
may
be
not
short an
be
appendage or
alive.
two.
Sorry.
Well, and that's the thing. So people go, oh, because there's this old adage that Tony Robbins says in one of the events, and he goes, hey, if I told you I'd give you $1 million if you lose 30 pounds by tomorrow, could you do it? And they're like going, are you crazy? He goes, no, you could.
Chop off this, chop off that.
I go, we'll just call you Lefty. It's like going, wait, what? Is it worth the $1 million? And that's the thing. Most people have an aspiration and they have no idea as to the time commitment. So there's all different types of currency, everyone. Just know this: time, money, intention, energy.
And yes.
All of it's a currency.
Yes.
And there is a cost. There's a leveraging to this. I don't like to use the term horse trading, yet it is. If you've ever stayed up for 36 hours straight, you will know that there's a cost. You'll get brain fog, your dopamine levels just like tank. And people go, well, yeah, why is that? And I said, because when you sleep in REM state, it actually cascades and removes neurotoxicity from the brain.
Well, yeah, there's a reason why people say that these are like the pillars of good health. It's not just myth. It's not just something that people say, and there are like basic things like eating healthy, getting activity in, using your brain for one thing, drinking water. That's another really important one that a lot of people don't do because they go, but it's also because of the hype of, you have to drink this much water for your body weight, blah, blah, blah. And my thinking is, no, it doesn't matter. As long as you feel comfortable that you're doing what's best for you, because only you know what's best for you.
Well, and we know if you're drinking X number of gallons a day, you'll get your steps in because you'll be running back and forth to the facilities to relieve yourself. So it's like, okay, there's meaning behind the madness. There's this whole deductive reasoning process. It's like, did you get your steps in? Yep, didn't drink enough water. And so part of this becomes, are we living intentionally? There's a lot of people who are stuck in hopium.
It is.
Oh, it's a terrible drug. And it's the prognosis is procrastination, alienation, aggravation, frustration, tantrums, turmoil. I could go on and on and on. I'm a thesaurus if you didn't figure this out by now. And so one of the things that becomes challenging about this is that if you're not feeling the way that you need to feel, reevaluate.
And it's really about breaking that pattern, right? Because when you're in that spiral, you're in that pattern, you're in this horrible pattern that really feels like you can't get out of it. But if something's spinning, let's say, for example, and you throw something like a wheel, let's say, for example, bicycle wheel, right? Spinning. And you throw, I don't know why I'm thinking chopsticks, but let's say you throw a chopstick at it, at a pole or whatever, right? And it goes smack into the spokes, right? And it stops it. That's a pattern interrupt. So you have to do something like that to disrupt that pattern. And it could be a simple thing, like even just a pebble can do it. Yes.
Oh, someone could pinch you. Someone can break out in laughter, which I don't recommend doing at a
No, then
funeral, by the
people
way.
start,
It doesn't go over
then
really
it
well.
becomes a chain reaction too. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because I watched a video a couple days ago again. It popped up in my feed.
Okay.
I don't know why. It was one of those where like 1 year ago you viewed this. And it was of an Irish funeral. And the gentleman had recorded his voice, and it's on a button on the outside of his casket. They put him in the ground, and he's like going, "Is anyone out there?"
God.
And you hear them knocking from inside the casket. He goes, "Is someone out there? Is anyone listening?" He goes, "For the love of Pete," he goes, "I'm in here. Can't you hear me?" He goes, "I didn't like you before. I don't like you now." He goes, "Donnie, get a job. Mikey, get a haircut." And it's the most hilarious thing. That was his whole thing. He didn't want anyone being sad at his funeral.
That is,
And it was like, how brilliant is that?
oh, wow.
And it goes on for like 20 minutes. He goes, "Okay." He goes, "Enough jokes. Thanks for coming. I'm here all week." You know, it's like going, well, no, you're here for an eternity. And so, yet, for some people, that's how they choose to leave a legacy, is that even in their passing, when their physical form isn't here, that enthusiasm, that energy, that sense of humor, that brevity, that knowledge, that intellect, that engagement, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. The priest was laughing, the family's laughing,
That's
instead of mourning.
Actually.
It's exciting to know, because we know in our culture that death is only the beginning. It's like, every single funeral I went to in Japan as a kid was like a party. And I had my full fill of mochi. I can tell you that. Like if there was anything else, there was mochi. If there was a funeral, there was mochi. I mean,
well, it's kind of like
Japanese eat well. I'm not judging.
right?
I'm just saying.
The Shiva at night, yeah. And they have all that food, and it's kind of similar to that because we do have all the food at the, the night before, and then at the funeral, of course, and it's also honoring the life of that person. Yeah, yeah.
The celebration, the gratitude, the memories, that's something that I've always been so fond of. And it's not unique to Buddhism. It's not unique to Taoism, Hinduism, the Jewish faith, the Catholic faith. In fact, even the Catholic faith calls it a wake. I go, "Oh, isn't that interesting?" They go, "Why?" And I never knew this, but I started setting up on this, and it's called a wake because it follows behind your life, and it's the ripples that follow. Isn't that beautiful? And I go, "Wow, someone was profound." And I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
I like wakes. Interesting."
Yes.
So, question for you, my dear friend. What is great advice to give to someone who is just feeling numb right now?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who put themselves, who kind of checked out. I just need to be in comfort. I just need to stay in the safe space.
I
my
would say
little box.
shatter that box. Get out of that box and start living. Because you can stay in that box forever. I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, that's not my life. But, I believe in reincarnation because I'm also probably Buddhist. Part of my culture is Buddhist. So you're bound to repeat what you didn't learn. And that's kind of like, reincarnation. You'll go back into your box then after you die in your box. And that's fine if that's what you want, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you want,
Well, and it's interesting because with that energy frequency, they may come back reincarnated as a box. And which is interesting. So I go, you'll be responsible for holding other people's things and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just like you held yours and didn't express self.
Yeah.
And I go, how interesting is that? When someone starts to live in a
And you know what?
space of denial.
We're honored, or we're actually, we're privileged to have a life. Some of it sucks and parts of it do suck,
Yes.
but we are given this life, and I think we need to honor it. I feel like, I need to honor it for my parents' sakes too, right? Because my parents gave me life, and, they took care of me. They raised me to be a certain way. And yes, nobody's perfect, but, I turned out pretty okay for myself. And thank you. And,
You're amazing.
but I want to honor them too, and honor the life and the lessons that they taught me. Yes.
And honor yourself. And it's interesting how we will place the significance of our legacy to other people and yet dishonor ourselves. And I go, where's the honor in that?
Yeah.
I don't believe, at least from my hallucination, that there is. I look at that as placating one's insecurities. And it's like, So the universal question
you deserve
is,
to love yourself,
do we
and you
deserve it?
deserve everything you wish for, because we're here. And
Yes.
yeah.
Because breathing, you're above ground, you're drawing breath, your heart's beating. So I go, well, and the universe doesn't make junk. It doesn't. You know when something becomes junk?
Right.
This is very interesting, because so they'll talk about space junk, and that is just floating debris out in the stratosphere.
Yes.
It becomes junk when it's no longer active.
Yes.
Because if it was active, they would call it an
your
asset.
junk could be somebody else's treasure, right?
That's it. And so that's the other beautiful part to you, going back to the very beginning of this conversation, which is perspective. So, how can people find out more about you?
They can find me at Brain to Belly on Facebook. Usually I have a group called Brain to Belly, and that's a Facebook group. They can find me there, or they can find me on the Spanglish World Network on Wednesdays. Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And they can find me probably YouTube as well. And I'm around.
Beautiful.
Aww.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, you're such an amazing talent, and you have just phenomenal distinctions. It's beautiful to experience your energy and your insights. When we created Your Best Life, it was really about connecting with like-minded, like-hearted people like Yayoi, and beyond that, to expand and make sure that we all had a space and a grace where we could all adventure together, thrive together, and really move beyond the norm. Because the norm is like, it's boring. Like, why would you just revel in your uniqueness?
Yes.
There's only one of you. So please check out Yayoi on her social media and connect with this amazing woman. If you're interested more in Your Best Life, come check us out. We are a crazy group of people that espouse the faith, family, fitness, and finance, and about hanging out with other crazy people just like us. It's a community of like-minded and like-hearted souls. And so I will remind you, don't just do your best. Be your best, so you will always do your best. You're such a blessing, my friend. I appreciate you very, very, very much. And I'll remind our viewership that this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check us out for all the news and all the programming, Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and of course, live it. All the best. Thank you so much.